Hello and welcome to my studio. I'm Jessie and this is the Knit Up and Dye podcast, episode 41, Define Vacation. Wow, I did miss last weekend. I tried to record every week, but last weekend was the weekend right after my son had left. If you watched the last two episodes, you got to meet Sam, and it's always really hard for me when my son goes home. So I just took a week off to heal and to catch up on everything that I didn't get to do while he was here. So I'm thrilled to be back. I'm excited to get to talk to you guys again, and I hope you didn't miss me too much. As always, I'm going to start with my thank yous. Special thank you to all my new subscribers. I just love getting those notifications that you've subscribed to my podcast. Honestly, I can't believe how many of you continue to watch and follow me, and it's wonderful. It's so inspiring. Special thanks and warm hello goes out to, I'm using my cheat sheet as always because there's so many of you, Betty Ann, Donna, Cricket, Lissa, Sherry, Shannon, Kiri, Roberta. Hi Roberta, thank you for your messages about my podcast. You are too kind, you're too sweet, and if there's anything I can show you, message me again. And of course Nancy and Rachel. I love you guys. Thank you so much for all of your comments, your messages through the past 2 weeks, for offering to test knit, for just being there for me and understanding what it's like to be a long-distance single mom. And all of your kind comments and love and support of Sam. Every time I hear from you guys, I contact him and I let him know. And huge thanks to you guys for responding so encouragingly, so supportively toward my son and his podcast and his knitting. He really gained something from the experience. He really left with so much more confidence than he already had about being a teen male knitter, about the public perception of that, and the idea that he could get on his mom's rinky little podcast and reach so many people and have people respond and be so supportive and so kind was a huge lift to him. And thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. This community is amazing and wonderful and supportive and helpful, and to be a part of it and to share that experience with people who are new to the community is everything. It's wonderful. Moving on. So what have I done for the past 2 weeks? Well, like I said, last week was busy just catching up and following up after my son's visit. Also, I've been working secretively on another art project, and several episodes back I had talked to you guys in response to a question about what are the crafts I do, what other things do I do, and I had shown you some of my beaded doll work. One of my viewers, one of my dear friends, honestly, saw the podcast, saw the dolls, and reached out to me immediately and just expressed how struck she was by the work. And there was emails, very flattering of my work, and commissioned a doll. Donna has given me permission to show you the doll. It has been delivered to her, and she has written the most beautiful thank you note, so full of meaning for her, for me, to have created this artwork for her in her spiritual image and send it out to her and have it be something that touched her, meant something to her. It's so fulfilling, it's so wonderful. And when I make these dolls, it's a fun experience, it's an interesting experience, because I'm trying to capture somebody else's personality and put it into the work. And when you send those out to the person who has asked for it, there is this horrible moment of fear that I was off base in my perceptions, or that the person will wholly reject this artwork. you're really putting yourself out as an artist to send something blind to somebody that they haven't seen. And so there's always this moment of fear where you're not sure that your work is going to be accepted, where you step out into the arena of vulnerability and wait for the response. And I'm delighted to respond, to report that Donna's response was wholly welcoming, that she loves it. And like I said, she has given me permission to share it with you. And so I'm going to insert right here a picture of Donna's doll. Isn't it lovely? I am so proud of this work. There's just so many different things captured in it. It was a delight to work on. And that was one of the things I've been doing over the past 2 weeks, was finishing this up, making sure the final touches were on it, and getting it all ready to ship out to Donna. And of course, eagerly waiting her response. So Donna, thank you so much for letting me share this with other people. Anybody who sees this and is struck as well, is interested in having this, I have 2 works that are waiting to be claimed by their commissioners, and I have an opening right now. I do have the availability to start another doll. This is something that I think I would like to continue again. It's an art form that I used to do and have done casually, but if you're interested in commissioning a doll, please contact me and let's discuss. I would love to design another one and do it for you. Moving on. Back to knitting. Back to knitting. So, my how to eat an elephant blanket. I've talked about this before, and how I really need to get on a regular schedule with this baby, so that I can finish it in my lifetime. So that I have time to enjoy it in my lifetime. I didn't get a lot of work done on it, not since you folks last saw it. In fact, since you last saw it, I've added a square. And that square took me like 4 different knitting sessions. I sat down with it 2 weeks ago and I managed to get the black frame on, and then I sat down with it again somewhere and managed to get a couple rows of the red, and then I sat down with it again last night, and I managed to get about 2 rows on it before my husband found some old firecrackers that we have had stuffed in a cabinet for 5-10 years, and opted to set those off last night. We had a good time with gunpowder. And so this morning with my tea, I sat down and I told him, I must finish this square. Do not interrupt me. Let me count. I must finish this square. And I did. Yay. So this row that I promised I was going to finish, that was only 6 squares, I can do that, has only 5 squares left. Yay! So this is my goal. This is my goal this week, is I'm going to try and knock out these 5 squares and get moving along. The theory is that I will do this as my after work TV time knitting and try and knock out a square a night. Will that happen? No idea, but that's the goal. That's the goal. And having a goal is half of the battle, right? We hope. Anywho, I love this. This is one of my favorite projects, honestly. It is a potato chip kind of project, because once you start, you can't really set it down. You get addicted to it, and you just want to do another square, do another square, do another square. And the only constraints for me, honestly, are time and focus. And it grows and it changes, and it's just lovely, and it's so warm. The evenings here, we're in monsoon season right now, which means that in the afternoons rains come through. We haven't seen a drop of it. We can watch it go down the valley, but we haven't actually seen a drop of it here at our house. But with it come cool, moist winds, and sitting outside, it's like being at the beach. You get these beautiful gusts of wind, and they're chilly and wet, and oh, what a gift that is in the desert. They're so wonderful. But I get chilled really easily, so sitting under this with those gusts of wind coming over me, I love this blanket. I love this blanket. I can't wait to have it done, and enjoy fall evenings under it, and spring evenings under it, and coffee mornings under it, and I can't wait to do this. Also in progress, as if you're following me, you know, I wildly decided that I wanted to knit a fingering weight sweater. I had some hiccups at the beginning with the pattern, and the pattern that I originally chose is set aside. I have every intention of knitting that pattern. I simply need to acquire the proper weight yarn for it. And I found another pattern that is very pleasing to me, and I am working that pattern. The pattern is the Jen pattern by Josie Packwood. Good. Yeah, memory's getting there. And I'm knitting it on my BFL base in my heirloom tomato colorway. And I love it. I love it. Let me pull it up for you guys here. I've actually made really decent progress on it. I did rip back a little bit. I had gotten to the point, it's a raglan top down in the round, and I had gotten to the point where you separate off and join in the round for these, under the sleeves. And I tried it on at that point, and it just felt the tiniest little bit too snug under the arm. The tiniest little bit. So I ripped back about an inch of work. Why didn't I put in a lifeline? I teach lifelines, I instruct lifelines, I demo lifelines. Would I use one? Nope. And haven't yet, because even though as I ripped back and went, why didn't I put in a lifeline? It didn't occur to me to put one in at that point. I don't know. Some lessons apparently need to be learned repeatedly before they actually take hold. Anywho, I ripped back about an inch, and I did work one or two more sets of the increases, which will not throw off, will not throw off my sleeve stitch count this time. Yay. So I shouldn't have any extra math at all. I am capable of learning some things. And I started again. I've made a modification to the pattern. I find stockinette really sleep inspiring. There's nothing wrong with it. It's lovely. I love the fabric. I love the texture. It's the reason that I knit. However, I suffer the phenomenon of knitting away and slowly just my eyes cross, and next thing I know, I'm out. And I jar back awake and I realize, oh, I'm knitting. What was the last number I heard in my head? 25. Count your stitches. Yeah, 25. Okay, let's keep going. Whoa! I'm asleep again. So it's really more daytime knitting for me. I have to be careful about knitting this at night, because I've discovered if I fall asleep while I'm knitting, by the time I get up and I do my night routine and I get into bed, I am so fully awake again that I don't sleep well. So nodding off on my knitting is interruptive to my honest, real sleep, and that's not healthy. So I'm trying to do this more daytime knitting. I'm not sure. I'm tempted to try and make this travel knitting, because now I'm just in the round doing the body. The trick is I do have to have two skeins with me, and I'm working both skeins not held together but at once, changing skeins every round to just keep the hand-dyed knit yarn from pooling or flashing or doing anything funky, to really blend those colors and make them their absolute best. I said I made a modification. Other than extending that extension a little bit further to get a little bit more depth under the arm, I'm inserting a ribbing directly under the arm down the side, and that is helping break up the sleepy time stockinette routine that I'm getting stuck in. And it is a twisted rib, and it's just, I hope you guys can see it, it's just from the armhole down. This particular pattern has a split hem, and so with this ribbing that I've put in that's coming down under the arm, it's going to design feature all the way down the side and then evenly split off for the hem and join the ribbing that goes around the bottom of the front and the back of the hem. So it's a natural extension of the design that's already happening, and it gives it just a little pop of interest, a little visual that actually is going to slim the sides of an otherwise oversized drapey sweater a little bit. It's more of a visual slimming than actually bringing the fabric in. It does bring the fabric in a little bit, but nothing that's going to throw it off. Once I block it, it actually can be blocked open rather than allowing it to remain elastic. And like I said, it's just giving me that wake-up call twice in every round, which I really appreciate. I have progressed so far as to be about 5 actual inches below the V-neck here, and I'm loving the color. I'm loving the color. This is so a Jessica color. This orange is, I love it. I love it. So I think I'm in a good place progress-wise. I haven't touched it in several days, but when I do touch it, I slam on a good inch really quick. And if I apply myself, I could get it done in relatively good time. I have events coming up in November that I want to have this done and wearable for. I would like to get it done before the end of September to give myself time to work the other sweater if I can get the yarn handled in time, so that theoretically I'll have 2 sweaters for my events that I can choose from. And I think I'm in a good place to get that done, but I gotta get cracking on. So between the blanket and the sweater, I've got work to do. But what is knitting without madness? If you've been following me, if you've been stalking me on Ravelry, Instagram, if you're one of my test knitters, if you've been watching the podcasts, you're well aware of my series, my design series that I'm working on. And if you're not, feel free to pop over to my blog post. I did do a blog post this morning that talks about the series and what inspired it, where it came from. Otherwise, the short of it is, I was inspired by a knitter who does not purl. And I was feeling really vexed, I guess is the best word, that this was not a skill set that was within this knitter's capacity. Whether they just couldn't wrap themselves around it or they detested it so much that they had determined that they were not going to purl. I was kind of bothered that that limited the variety of patterns available. Because we so inherently assume that if you can knit, you can purl. Not everybody can do everything. They just can't. So I decided that I wanted to do some patterns, some designs that were very limited in what stitches they incorporated. And I chose, of course, to eliminate the purl stitch. And I came up with this pattern initially, and this is my Addicted Two Ewe pattern. The other part of this was that I wanted stash busters, and I wanted stash busters that were interesting, quick, and addictive. And I came up with this concept of using 2 fingering weights held together, basically marling, and getting these wild, wonderful color combinations that were just so interesting, created really interesting fabrics. And so I came up with Addicted to You. And this is just this long sawtooth garter stitch pattern that uses knit, yarn over, knit 2 together, and bind off. Basic, simple, addictive, fun stash busting. And I pounded this out and I love it. I love it. This is going to be a staple in my wardrobe all winter long. And If I ever get all the other projects done, I'll probably knit another one. But Addicted to You spawned this whole thing where I wanted to do a series of patterns that were like this, that were restrictive in their stitch use, that really were creative in coming out of that. And from that came Still Addicted to You. And Still Addicted to You also uses knit, yarn over, and bind off. But this time it incorporated a slip stitch where you slipped a stitch with the yarn in front of you. And it creates this other texture. So it's not quite a garter, but it has all the behaviors of a garter in that you never have to purl. And I did a fringe bind off, and I added a tassel. My husband insisted, who's not a frilly guy, but he said it added to the overall feel of it. And I agree, I think he's right. And again, I have another fantastic 2 fingering weight held together scarf that was addictive to work, was fun to work, and honestly was quite quick to work. And the series grows. From that, of course, the ideas started to just flood. And another scarf has come out of it. In fact, if you're interested in test knitting, this one just went out to test knitters this morning. I'm still looking for a couple more test knitters. Contact me. I'd love to have you along for the ride. I made Wildly Addicted to You. And Wildly Addicted to You, although it looks very complicated, is knit, yarn over, knit 2 together. That's it. You get this fun, crazy, never-ending zigzag of madness out of those stitches. And because it's such a simple base fabric, with the shape being what speaks, you can mix any 2 fingering weights you want. You want crazy mohair in here, you want animal fur in here, you want sparkles in here, whatever you want. Wildly Addicted to You can be as wild as you want, as fun as you want. And I did this with a Malabrigo sock and my Sunday Funnies yarn. I had to really think about that. That's the Tap Monkey Sunday Funnies. And I held them together and I got this wild, noisy color. And I love it, I love it, I love it. This is available for test knit. Like I said, come join the fun. Where's the series going to stop? Who says it has to? I am really just enjoying the design challenge. I'm having fun with what's coming out of my needles. I'm using up all these beautiful yarns that I have owned for years that did not have the right project, that suddenly projects are speaking to me. I'm having fun and I'm really enjoying the yarns. Stash bust, stash bust, stash bust. I have another one on the needles. Madly Addicted to You is on the needles. And again, this one is using, let me think about this. It uses knit front and back, which is an increase. It's a new increase, different from the yarn over for you if you're part of this series. Cast on and bind off. That's it. And wait until you see the wild ride that comes out of those stitches. I never expected that I could create something so fun, so wild, with so few techniques. I can't wait to share it, but I don't want to share it until I have a significant portion of it done so I can show you the surprise of it and why I'm calling it Madly Addicted to You. Behind Madly Addicted to You, because I've got all kinds of time, I want to do an Endlessly Addicted to You, and I already have the design brewing in my head, but I need to get Madly Addicted to You off the needles before I can really start to test Endlessly Addicted to You in earnest. So there's more coming. And if I get all the way through Endlessly Addicted to You, that will be 5 in the series. My husband, in his infinite man, logic, and wisdom, has seen Madly Addicted to You and is pushing me to make a coordinating hat for it. For some reason, these patterns have taken on as neckwear only. I think I'm going to follow his lead. I think I'm going to stretch this out and start to incorporate some other shapes, other things for you. If they fit the rules, why not, right? So great things are coming. I'm excited to do this, and ultimately, once the series is all test and pulled together, wherever it ends, I'd like to publish it as an ebook through Ravelry with the whole collection together. I'm excited about it. I have a bazillion million ideas pouring through my head, and if you'd like to be a part of the testing, if you'd like to hop on board, I'd love to have you. I'd love to have you. It would be great fun. And really the feedback that I get from you guys, the error finding, thank you guys for finding where I can describe it better, where I can say it better, where I've made a mistake, where I've put in tech edits and hit the undo button by accident and undone my edits. You guys are priceless to me, and I have so much appreciation for it. Forgive me. I can't thank you enough. So, that's the state of things. That's where we're going. In addition to doing this, because I'm hot on this project right now. I love this Addicted to You series. I'm addicted to it. The Addicted to You series is so much fun. I have set a personal goal to get this wrapped up and get it ready so that come November, I have kits with the patterns and yarns paired up, boxed up, gift ready for you guys. I would love to make these kits available. I would love to have it be a pattern yarn combo kit in a nice display so that you can purchase a gift for yourself and certainly purchase a gift for another knitter with a pattern that's basic techniques that anybody can handle and have a wonderful experience with. So that's the goal. That's the goal. I am preparing for the holidays now. Whoa. That never happens. That never happens. So I'm wildly excited about this. And thank you to everyone who's been supportive of it. That's about it for my 2-week summary. And like I said, define vacation. I work really hard on my vacations, apparently. Nothing wrong with that if you love it. I need to go and do some dyeing. I have some ideas brewing for my kits, and I want to go play in the kitchen for a little bit. Nothing I'm going to show you quite yet, but certainly if you are following me for dye techniques, if you're following me for knit techniques, please do not hesitate to contact me and let me know what you would like to see. I am more than happy to demonstrate on camera for you anything that I'm doing. If you're looking at becoming a dyer to sell your own yarns, do not be shy. Please ask your questions. I've got nothing to hide. Dyeing is an art. If you give 2 monkeys typewriters, they're not going to type the same keys. And whatever you do with your dye, you're going to do with your dye. Whatever I do with my dye, I'm going to do with my dye. And even if we had the same recipe, it's going to come out a little bit different. Look at your neighbor's Toll House cookies against yours. There's always something a little bit different about them. So I don't have any problem telling you who my base vendors are. I use Dharma Trading to purchase my dyes from. I use my grocery store to get my white vinegar. I don't particularly like working with the citric acid. I use a L'Oreal conditioner for when I wash and block my products, as well as when I wash and block my yarns, because it's color safe and it leaves this beautiful sumptuous hand to the yarn. I use Wool to Dye For as my stockist for my yarn bases. They are reliable, the product is good, they are affordable when it comes to wholesale, when it comes to mass purchase. I love them. I'm not shy about sharing this information with you because I want all of us to enjoy our arts and our projects. And I'm the same way with the techniques. You won't get my exact dye recipes, but I will show you how to make the same general look. That's it. That's all I got for you guys. So let me know what you want and I'll be happy to fulfill it. Until next time, have a great week. Do what you love. Bye.